Welcome back to it. Yes, it is. Your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso. We're live here on S3. It's a brand new week. It's a Monday. We're opening it up to some health chats this morning. Now, when it comes to their health, too many men, way too many men, they don't talk about it. They don't take any action. And many men, unfortunately, as a result, they die too young. And that's why Movember was established as a global foundation that aims to raise awareness around men's health issues. And they've championed that subject with so much vigor.
They have indeed. Now, this morning, we are joined by Dr. Michele Vanzaghi, who is a cancer survivor himself, and he's discussing prostate cancer as Movember comes to a close. Doc, good morning.
Lovely to be back here.
Oh, it's always so good.
Man.
Yeah.
Always so good.
Look, we're talking about prostate cancer, obviously. This is something we had a good conversation about before, talking about checks, and it's something that, like Tabiso said, we're not speaking about enough, man. Why not?
So I always say, I think in terms of men's cancer awareness, there is a little bit of a lack of awareness and just ease around conversation. I think there's been such amazing movements around breast cancer awareness and women talking about health and like sort of reproductive health and female sexual health. It's not as taboo as men's health. And I think, like you guys would probably know, like guys don't really converse about health that much. That's already an issue. And when it comes to like reproductive health, we sort of stray away from that topic quite massively. So, I mean, there's been massive movements, and I think Movember has been one of the biggest and most successful drives towards men's health and awareness around men's health. And they really are saving lives.
Well, let's talk about prostate cancer in particular. What is it then? What is prostate cancer? Because when you speak about breast cancer, it sounds almost quite obvious. It's got to do with breasts.
Yeah.
But prostate cancer?
So the prostate is a small gland. I'm not going to go into the anatomical details, but it's a small gland that sits around your urethra. And it's important in sexual function. It helps with semen flow and sort of with reproductive health. But cancer is essentially just aberrant growth or sort of cells that just keep multiplying without any inhibition. And that's what cancer is in your body. And one of the professors in a big study in Germany once said that if everybody were to live, or if all men were to live to 150, they would probably all develop prostate cancer, because it's one of the cells in our body that sort of, the cycle is the fastest. So it's highly at risk of developing cancerous cells. So prostate cancer is essentially just those cells that are multiplying and they're not being restricted by genes in our body that control cancer. And it could be a genetic thing. So if you've got a family history of cancer or your father had prostate cancer, you're at slightly higher risk. And it could also be environmental factors like smoking and lifestyle. And those things add to all kinds of cancer. But essentially, that's what prostate cancer is. It's just aberrant growth of the cells in your prostate gland, which is an important gland in sort of male reproductive health.
Well, look, the way I understand it, the prostate gland you can't really like see. It's not like an external object on the body, so you can't really like feel necessarily if there's an issue or a lump like you would when you're doing testicular cancer or maybe breast cancer like Tabiso's mentioning. How then would you know that you are even susceptible, well, not susceptible to it, but that you might have it? Are there signs and symptoms to prostate cancer? What are those sort of tells?
So the reason that prostate cancer screening exists is because it's an asymptomatic disease. In a few cases, people present with some urinary symptoms. So it sits around the sort of vessel that brings urine from the bladder outside of the penis. And if it grows to a size where it's sort of obstructing that flow, you can get urinary symptoms. So we call it frequency or nocturia, where you're urinating too much at night. But that's very, very much not the case in a lot of cancer or prostate cancer cases. It's an asymptomatic disease, and that's why we have protocols for screening. And in our textbooks, the definition of the signs of prostate cancer are a lump on digital rectal examination. So if you do a digital rectal exam and you feel an abnormal mass on the prostate, or if we just do a simple blood test that shows us elevated levels of the prostate-specific antigen, which is the PSA test.
Does that mean that a man wouldn't be able to feel the lump themselves in the absence of that digital screening test?
Yeah, so you'd have to get a healthcare professional to do that examination for you. We've been trained how to feel. And I mean, this is the biggest taboo thing around prostate cancer is no one wants to go for a digital rectal examination. I mean, it's an uncomfortable, very invasive, very vulnerable thing to do. But I think we'll talk about it just now. In terms of screening, we've made such massive progress in terms of prostate-specific antigen.
Yeah.
A blood test, when you turn 50,
Yeah.
you get the blood test done, and this gives us an indication of how to go forward. And that helps us to decide if you need a digital rectal examination or not.
Wow. We've made some moves forward, right,
Absolutely,
in
yeah.
that regard.
But the diagnosis in itself, I mean, that's something that, let's say you get to that point, you now need to do something about it.
Sure.
What are those options? Where do we go for help? And at the same time, for someone like Tabiso and I, is it important for us to go get checked up now? Sure. Do we only wait until we're closer to our 40s? Sorry, two questions at once, but I'm dying to know both of them.
So in South Africa, the routine screening happens at the age of 50. So if you're not having any symptoms, like I explained the urinary symptoms, we recommend that when you turn 50, you have a blood test. And if that blood test is elevated, you'll go on to see a urologist who will then investigate you further.
Okay.
There's then, if you have a positive blood test, you get screened, and then there's a whole oncology team that makes a decision regarding biopsy to confirm the diagnosis. And if you're a patient who has a good lifespan left, more than 10 years, and you have a positive family history of prostate cancer, they'll do a biopsy.
Yeah.
And from there, then the treatment is very specific to what kind of prostate cancer you have,
Yeah.
and if it has spread in your body.
Yeah.
But majority of the cases, it's a highly curable disease with radiation. I mean, that's the mainstay of treatment.
That's the good news.
You lie in a machine and they radiate the prostate. So you actually don't have to go through an operation or anything like that.
So a lot has changed and a lot has been discovered in that regard. Doc, you are fantastic, and it's always so great to be able to have you here, share all of this information. Early diagnosis, what I'm picking up from this conversation is that that is the answer. But the only way to know that is to be able to step into it, understand that men's health conversations have got to be had. They are very, very important. There are lots of resources out there with all of the information. You can go onto cancer.org.za, or you can give them a call on 071 197 9305. That's their WhatsApp line, and they're always on standby to answer you. Let us take this seriously, not just in November, but all throughout our lifespan.